welcome to this episode of the Waffle Hour Podcast. This
Hello.
is episode 10.
Episode 10.
Yeah, I
10
know.
episodes.
We should have a celebration.
No.
Alright, that's fair.
I don't like celebrations.
I'm Giger.
I'm Ben.
That was the intro. We did it. Woo! Ben!
Woo! Okay. So, first some news, or some updates.
Yes.
About last Tuesday's episode.
Yeah. I was having some editing problems, and then I had to do some stuff that day, so I ended up not being able to upload it until like really late, until like early morning the next day, like midnight or something.
Yeah, so sorry about that.
I'm also found out that you can schedule uploads.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Neither did I, and now I'm doing that. So that's happening.
Look at this amateur hour fucking podcast over here.
People might say we just started 5 weeks ago.
5 weeks ago. Yeah, that's actually what we were just talking about before we started recording. To go with that, we've officially decided to go back to doing one podcast episode per week. Occasionally two.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
It's like, the way it's going to work from this point forward is we're going to shoot for one instead of going for two. And if we end up getting two, we're just going to upload both on the Tuesday and the Friday of that week, and then that'll be the thing. We're going to try and make it so that we are talking about the stuff within the week that we upload it, if that makes sense, because we previously kind of segmenting them, which was not a great idea because we just forget. It'd be 2 weeks later, and we would not have any idea what we talked about the week before.
This episode here that we're recording, this is the one we normally would be releasing this Thursday, I believe.
We're going to do it on Friday.
Okay, we're going to do it Friday now?
Just because it's like Tuesday, 2 days, then Friday. I think it makes more sense.
Maybe. I figure we just keep with the current schedule until we do the reset, which would be starting next week.
All right, that's fine.
So next Sunday, the episode would come out on Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, yeah. I'm just saying because this episode is the second.
Got it.
Yeah, because we have the Discord episode.
Well, we can't really tell you when this episode will come out as we're recording it, because by then it'll have already came out.
Yes.
Or by the time you're listening to it.
What if it never comes out?
And it might never come out and nobody will hear this.
Like we could just I could forget.
We might get the COVID.
I don't think we're gonna get the COVID.
No, I don't think so either. Not that I'm not being...
Yeah, of course we're being safe, but like you just being like...
It's not going to keep us from recording is the thing. It's not like we've got anything better to do. We're just going to keep doing it, but there's going to be a lot more coughing.
It would literally just mean that we would have more time to be around because neither of us would be at work.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be wonderful. Okay, so that and that. Was there anything else?
I don't think so. We had the upload. Did you have anything about our social medias? I don't think you did.
No. We'll just remind people about our social medias at the end of the episode.
I just meant that if you had any like comments on them. I don't know.
Oh God, no.
Okay, cool.
So, we've got a great episode for you this week.
Do we?
That's a lie. I'm lying.
Okay.
We've got an interesting one, I guess, because even though I've still been in that kind of like slump, like I haven't played any video games since our first episode when I was playing Trials of Mana.
That's crazy, actually.
Which I did beat, but I beat a while ago, and there isn't really anything to add to that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But I did actually watch some more things this week, so that's nice.
I was playing Breath of the Wild because I started going back to work, and having my feet hurt when I get home is really annoying.
See, I love Legend of Zelda, so I could just talk about Breath of the Wild the whole time.
Yeah, we definitely could. I mean, I could talk about that game alone just because I love it so much, but it's one of those, what I like about the discussion of it, and I don't mean to go into it if we don't need to, but what I like about the discussion is the idea of, I think you've told me about the intrinsic versus altruistic game styles.
Intrinsic versus extrinsic.
Extrinsic, right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good example of, like, if you play Breath of the Wild, depending on which gamer you are, that's the game that, like, sets it in place.
Yeah.
If you really like it, you're probably, I think it was intrinsic.
Yeah, you just like the act of doing without necessarily having the carrot on the stick to be rewarded with.
Can you tell me who the YouTuber was that...
It was Matthew Matosis.
Right, I wanted to make sure that we didn't just steal that.
Yeah, Matthew Matosis, very, very good YouTuber if you like long video game essays, which I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my favorite YouTube videos. It's the kind of YouTube videos I wanted to make, but I'm also lazy, and I don't like editing. So instead, I just come over here and re-record this podcast, and you do all the work for me.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best part about having an editor.
Yeah.
I would edit it. If you wanted to do that, I would edit those videos.
Maybe, but then I would also have to write the scripts, which, that's an entire job. So
I mean, no one could write those for you.
I know that's what I'm talking about. It's just not going to happen. Anyway, moving right along. So let's see.
At our snail's pace.
Did you want to start talking about Breath of the Wild? Or do you want me to tell you some of the movies and shows and stuff I watched?
Let's go with the show. I want to hear about a show.
Okay, well, I did watch a show yesterday. There is a new Muppet show on Disney Plus.
Oh!
I believe it's called Muppets Now.
I'm intrigued.
And it is going
Slightly.
to be a weekly episode thing like The Mandalorian, so there's only 2 episodes that are out.
Hate that.
And I watched those first 2 episodes. Maybe there's 3 episodes out now, I don't know, but I watched the first 2.
Were they good?
They were fine.
I don't like that you said it that way.
They're fine. I mean...
Just a quick sidebar. He's really smiling right now, and that's never a good sign.
Is it? Okay. So, I feel like we've been talking about a lot of Muppets lately. Even before we started talking about the Dark Crystal, we were just casually discussing Muppets because they're a thing that we both like.
Who doesn't love the Muppets, man?
And I feel like a lot of my enjoyment of this show just came from the fact that it's the Muppets. The way they move is funny. The way they talk is funny. Okay? They don't have to do anything else except exist and be Muppets for me to be at least casually entertained. And that's good because I don't think, like, any of the sketches they did were, like,
funny?
Really that great.
That's, like, my biggest worry with the Muppets, is I feel like they're the kind of thing that can't really, work in our period, if that makes any sense.
I don't think that's necessarily true, but...
Well, like, they require a certain, like, I don't know how to I'm not sure how to describe it exactly, but I think Muppets require a certain level of writing. I'm not 100% sure I know anyone who could match it besides Jim Henson.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense at all. And, like, the original Muppet Show was amazing.
Yeah.
But part of the reason it was so good was just because they knew exactly the limitations and, like, limits they had to do all the Muppets, do all the skits and everything. And I worry that with, like, digital editing, people might go too far the other way.
Yeah.
So, you tell me about the show now, because I've just been rambling.
Alright, well, the premise of the show is that it is a variety show. It's a collection of, like, internet web series that all the Muppets are, like, making together, and they're combining it, mashing it up into one show. So, Miss Piggy has, like, a beauty and makeup and, like, health guru tutorial thing, and the Swedish Chef has a cooking show, and they have, like, some other, like, weird variety stuff like that. Like, both of those 2 appeared in both episodes, but the other ones had, like, some random stuff. Like, they had this one thing where Kermit reveals that he's, like, a professional photo bomber. He's, like, really into photo bombing people, and he's, like, really good at it.
Okay.
That was okay. You got this face. You're not impressed by this premise.
I'm more like... I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like the idea about any of that.
I'm more accepting of it because the Muppets have already had, like, a YouTube channel that's been going on for a while, and if you ever look into it, it's pretty funny.
Okay. Can I introduce you to a thing called Glove and Boots?
What is that?
Glove and Boots is a totally separate Muppets channel that has nothing to do with the actual Muppets.
It uses
But it uses Muppets.
Off-brand Muppets.
Yeah. And they
not Jim Henson brand Muppets.
No, not Jim Henson brand. Just like ones that some dudes made, and it's like...
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen the video of, like, a Muppet telling you not to use vertical video. That's the most famous one they've got. It's, like, lamenting the idea, just use, like, portrait mode.
Yeah, just turn your camera.
That's, like, what I think of when I think of, like, modern Muppets. I think it's just that I'm, like, grossed out by the idea of, like, Kermit on YouTube. Just because I don't know, I guess I'm a purist.
Again, I've been seeing the Muppets doing the YouTube thing for a while, and I've never had a problem with it.
I don't know.
I also feel like it is a very clever translation of what the original Muppet Show was, because it was originally a variety show,
yeah.
But they did it on stage in front of a camera. Now it is, YouTube videos.
I'm totally willing to accept that I might just be wrong here.
I mean, the problem was it was not the premise thing. The problem was that, like, for the most part, a lot of the jokes weren't funny. Some of them were. Like, I was laughing hysterically in the second episode. So the Swedish Chef does, like, celebrity cook-offs.
Okay.
Where, like, a celebrity cook comes in and, like, does something and he has to compete against them, except he's the Swedish Chef, so he just makes a horrible mess.
Yeah.
But in the second episode, Danny Trejo came on to do his, like, family taco recipe.
Oh, okay.
And they were having a mustache... stroking contest. They're like both like have got big mustache rivalry. That was fucking funny.
Sure.
I was laughing my ass off at that. But for the most part, like, this is all I'm only enjoying this because the Muppet... Like, I'm watching the show with a smile on my face, but I'm not laughing out loud, is the thing.
That's how I watch The Simpsons.
Yeah, well, no. Well, when I was rewatching through, like, the first Simpsons episodes, there were definitely, like, jokes that I'm fucking dying over.
Well, for me...
like, every season, at least.
My experience with The Simpsons is, like, 2006 era. Oh. So, like, I'm past the point where they're funny.
So, yeah, it's the point where it's, like, before it's completely awful, but while it... way after its golden age.
So everything's like, yeah, that was kind of funny. And that's the total reaction.
Yeah.
Just like, it's kind of funny, I guess. That's it.
I will point out there's a distinct lack of Statler and Waldorf, as far as I can tell. I don't know if they do, like, an end of the credits cameo or something like that, because I didn't bother watching after the credits. But, like, the YouTube videos always ended with them, like, showing up and, like, making a final joke, and that was always great, because I just love those two assholes.
Yeah, they're great.
But they did not appear in the web series, in the new show at all. I don't know, it's only 2 episodes. It is not something I would recommend getting Disney Plus over, but I'm gonna keep watching it just to see if it gets good.
They could. Is there any film critics on the YouTube we get roster for this? I mean, like in the show with the variety show, like
them doing reviews.
Yeah, because if there isn't, then I would bet that they would be like YouTuber reviews or commentary channels, and they would just like comment. They would put up old videos and go, look at this Miss Piggy, you know?
I could imagine them doing that, but they didn't do it in the 2 episodes. It's like I said, there's like different sketches sometimes. Like the one episode, they had an interview with RuPaul that went off the rails because all the Muppets like kept on interrupting and asking them their own questions and stuff like that.
It's kind of funny.
Yes, it's stuff like that. It's Muppets. It's always at the very least, it's kind of funny.
I don't know. I guess like I just don't like the idea of modern Muppets. Maybe that's just me, and I don't want to like hammer this point too much because I'm probably just wrong for being that way. But like I don't know, looking at it, like thinking about that in my head, thinking of like Miss Piggy as a YouTube makeup thing, just kind of grosses me out.
It makes so much sense for her, though.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Again, I'm just wrong.
Here's totally what works in my head. I am personally very, very glad that Sesame Street is still a show on television for little children.
Sure.
And to me, these two things are interlinked. And I want Sesame Street to continue always being a thing for all of time. And in a way... it like transitively, I also kind of want the Muppets in that exact way. And they're interlocked in my head. And I feel like the Muppets, like, because the Muppets, it was always about like the actual Muppet characters themselves.
Yeah.
Like Fozzie is a specific character. Miss Piggy is a specific character.
Yeah.
And like I said, I feel like you go from the, for Miss Piggy, she's the over-the-top movie star diva, obnoxious, character archetype, and you turn that into the obnoxious Instagram model.
It makes perfect
makeup
sense.
Tutorial streamer. And it's like this. It just works so well for me, and she's still being Miss Piggy, just in a new environment.
Yeah, I'm just wrong, but I'm gonna be wrong by myself in my room.
I mean, I'm not gonna tell you to watch this show because I didn't think it was good enough. To recommend.
I'm not gonna get Disney Plus. It's not worth it.
Listeners, don't get Disney Plus for this. I mean, like, I wouldn't even say listeners get Disney Plus for Mandalorian. Mandalorian was good, but it's not good enough to get Disney Plus for.
Nah, we would never, suggest piracy, of course, because we're not
for the Mandalorian
for anything. We're not allowed to, obviously, so we would never do that. But it is an avenue that one could watch the show.
I wouldn't recommend it. I don't even think Mandalorian is worth pirating. I really like it, but like, it is. There's only certain things that I'm like, this is so good, you need to watch it. That I'm going to like insinuate.
I'm just saying,
maybe pirating it.
If you have a inclination to watch the show and just haven't, maybe for the same reason you didn't watch it at first.
Yeah.
Then it's definitely an option that you definitely should not partake in, but is there. I don't think I would get Disney Plus just because I don't like that they do the weekly episode thing. because I feel like that's one of those elements of like TV that was dying, and then they brought it back so that they could keep people from like going back to Netflix.
I mean, I've heard people make the argument that that was part of the Mandalorian's success, and that like people would watch the new week's episode and then they would spend a week talking about it to one another and just building up the hype and wondering what's going to happen next, and that feeds into, you know, the cycle. Compared to like some things that are just exist, everyone watches it, everyone's talking about it for a week, and then it just disappears for another year.
I get that point, but I was doing that, and the conversation each week would be, did you see the new Mandalorian episode? Yeah, I did. It was pretty cool, wasn't it? Yeah, it was all right. And that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
And like...
And it's weird for me to be making that argument, because I just watched it after it was finished, and I watched it all the way through.
Sure. I believe you're making that point out of like a good area. There is an element of each week being a thing is like, there's something to it. I don't like it at all. I hate the idea. I think that you should just be able to watch a thing and move on.
Yeah.
I love that Netflix doesn't make you do that, and I think that I also don't like that the only reason they do it, probably for the most part, is just so you'll keep your subscription for longer than a month.
Yeah. For the Muppets thing, I'm gonna actually be honest, I don't think I would want to watch all of it at once. Like, just from what I saw, like, if I had to watch, like, 10 episodes of this instead of just 2, I'd be like, I'm just gonna get bored. This is sketch comedy.
Well, that's like the same, I'm imagining the same kind of vein as, like, watching Conan.
Yeah.
You would never watch every Conan episode, like, start to finish, but, like, if it's on... Conan O'Brien, sorry.
Not, like, Conan the Barbarian, for our listeners, just as a clarification.
No, yeah, everyone every 35 of our listeners were all thinking, oh, he means Conan the Barbarian, right?
Look, when I hear the word Conan, that is the first thought I have.
Okay, whatever.
It just is.
Point being, nobody watches a late-night host, binges that. That's a whole separate thing. This is because it's a separate way of viewing the content. I'm just meaning for a completed work, that it makes more sense to do it this way. And Muppets, to be fair, is a completed work to an extent. But it's not. It's in the style of Conan O'Brien. Apparently, I have to make the distinction now.
You just have to make it once.
Okay. Conan O'Brien.
For me, if not for the listeners. Anyway.
Why would you think I would be talking about Conan the Barbarian?
It's just a split second.
He's got one movie. Actually, 2 if you count She-Ra. Not She-Ra, whatever the other one was.
Red Sonja.
Yeah, Red Sonja.
I never saw it. But I really like Conan the Barbarian movie.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Schwarzenegger. Love that film.
I played Alex, your brother, our DM, ran the a Conan the Barbarian themed dungeon mat game.
You can't keep calling him our DM when you're in a D&D group right now where he's not your DM.
Sure.
Because that's just because you talk about your D&D sessions here. It's just going to be confusing.
He's like my spirit. He's my spirit animal DM.
Your spirit animal DM. I like that.
Yeah.
He is the DM of DMs.
Yeah. If I'm walking around and he pops in the town and is like, you want to play D&D? I'm going to his house.
He's the honorary DM of all DMs.
Yeah. Which isn't to say that my current DM isn't good or anything.
He is everyone's DM.
I would like to point out, I just want to make this clear, in case he listens to this. My current DM is very good. I like my current DM a lot. He's a good dude. He just can't really compare to your little brother.
No, because my little brother is a fucking psychopath. Okay.
Now he's going to listen to this.
Yeah, well, he already knows how I feel about him. I tell him all the time.
Sure.
That's not true. I barely talk to him because he lives in another city. I'm not the kind of person to reach out even to close family.
I try to, but I'm really bad at it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm with you there.
So, changing subjects, I also watched a movie last night.
Okay.
I watched Paprika.
All right.
Are you familiar?
Is this another really French film you watched?
No, it's actually an anime. That's why I thought you might be familiar.
I was not.
Okay, so it is an animated Japanese animated movie by Satoshi Kon, I think his name is.
I have heard that name.
Yeah, he's one of the more famous Japanese anime film directors. Up there with Miyazaki and all the Studio Ghibli and stuff. And he's really, really good. So I went into this movie not knowing pretty much anything. I knew 3 things. I knew 1, that it was good.
Okay.
2, that it was about dreams and apparently heavily inspired the movie Inception.
Sure.
And 3, that it had trippy weird visuals.
Expected, yeah.
Which is all I really want out of a Japanese animated movie.
Yeah. If you're gonna be animated at all, you might as well go with the extra mile with your animation. You know.
And okay, so this movie was really good.
Okay.
But it was also pretty frustrating at the same time. And a lot of those frustrations were not the movie's fault. So, for instance, we watched the entire movie, me and the group of people I watched it with, we watched the entire movie subbed, with subtitles, and there is an English dub, but a couple of us, including me, didn't know that there was an English dub. A couple other ones were like, well, I don't really want to suggest rock the boat if everyone wants to watch the dub. So nobody brought it up.
Sure.
And said, let's watch the dubbed version instead.
And that was a mistake?
Well, it was a mistake because I happened to be getting fucking text messages from someone at the time, and if I glanced away from the screen, I would miss lines of dialogue that might have been important, you know? So, it's already a very weird movie with a very hard-to-follow plot, and when you're missing just single lines of dialogue, and that's making it even more frustrating, that's awful.
Yeah, that would be annoying.
And that entire thing would have just been fixed just by listening to the dub instead of reading the subtitles.
I really don't want to make the argument that dubs are superior.
I don't want to make that argument either because I don't believe it. I'm not an anime fan, so I don't have a strong opinion on anime subtitles specifically. But like if I'm going to watch a movie like Pan's Labyrinth, I'm going to watch it in the original Spanish.
Well, for me, it's just like I prefer to be able. I multitask everything I watch. Mm-hmm. I'm always playing a game if I'm watching something or eating or something. So
yeah, and the subtitles is something you have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Is exactly what I'm saying.
That's entirely my argument against them. But I totally respect people who watch them, except for JoJo's. I watch all of JoJo's subbed.
Fair. I think that's better, because I've only ever seen clips of JoJo's, and I've heard the voice acting. It's like, well, if you lose this, then you're losing some of the best part of JoJo's.
I don't know, man. Matthew Mercer's a pretty great voice actor, and he does Jotaro. You don't know who that is, do you?
Matt Mercer?
No, Jotaro. I know you know who Matt Mercer is.
Jotaro's he's not the main character because they have multiple main characters for each arc.
Well, he's the main one.
So is he the third one?
Yes, actually.
Yeah,
good job. Good job.
See, I know about JoJo's. JoJo's is a show that me and my brother are planning. What?
Giorno. He's the fifth part.
Cool. We're planning on watching JoJo's eventually. We keep on talking about it. I am afraid that I'm just not going to like it because I don't think the kind of things that interest me are going to be in this show. I
want you to talk more about the movie, but I will bring this up when you're done.
Got it.
So we can talk about JoJo's again.
Alright, so Paprika. I like this film. It also really frustrated me.
Because of that, yeah.
Because of other reasons, too.
Oh, okay.
Is the thing. I'm going to just spoil it for you because I don't actually think the best parts of this film were its plot, even though it was a mystery thriller.
I might not watch it.
I mean, you should. I think you would enjoy it.
Oh, okay.
Just because you are someone who likes anime. I just assumed you already knew about it because it is a pretty famous movie.
I don't like the label of someone who likes anime because it's not entirely accurate.
You've said it yourself. I'm applying your own label onto you. We did introductions in the first episode. I respect
this position, and I know that I've screwed my own point. But I don't. When I mean I like anime, I just mean I like the animes I watch. And I don't pay attention to other shit until it's brought into my viewpoint. You know what I mean? I don't go speaking. I don't go looking for it.
I think that if you watch Paprika, you will share my opinion that it's really good and really frustrating.
Okay.
Because again, first of all, film quality animation in anime, it's beautiful. It is a beautiful fucking film. Definitely some shots and stuff were just really, really great. The story, on the other hand, it's hard to follow, sometimes purposefully so, and other times not, I don't think.
Okay.
So there's... I was thinking about this, mulling this over in my head, trying to think about what I wanted to talk about. Now I'm getting it all, mixed up. Because there's parts of the difficult-to-follow narrative that I am not frustrated by, and other parts that I am. For instance, since it is about dreams, it kind of uses dream logic sometimes, where it's this doesn't actually make sense, but that's just kind of how dreams work, so it doesn't matter. And I don't get bothered by any of that. For instance, early on in the film, the character Paprika is this one scientist woman's dream avatar. Mm-hmm. When she is dreaming, she appears as this person, and she has almost like a different personality than what she presents herself as in real life.
Okay.
And in like the very first scene, she is guiding this like detective through his dreams, and when they wake up and she explains all about the dream machine that enables them to go into the dreams and stuff, she's still Paprika, and they haven't introduced the fact that she isn't a real person yet. So when you're watching it later and you find out the information, you probably won't think about the fact that, you know, this character shouldn't have existed in that first scene. And this wasn't a mistake. This is just, you know, weird dream bending. Wait, was that part a dream too kind of thing?
Mm.
And that doesn't bother me. That's the kind of, like, stuff, I'm not bugged by that. My problem is that a lot of times throughout the movie, something would happen, and it would just come out of nowhere, and then they would have a scene after that where it was just a long exposition explaining what was going on. And that explanation very often wouldn't even make sense. And it wouldn't even matter, because they wouldn't have had to have explained most of it anyway.
Very anime.
Yeah. So the film is based on a novel, not on a manga.
Okay.
And it also... I should go through the plot and then I'll explain. So the plot of the movie is that there's some scientists who created a machine that lets people view and go into dreams.
Cool.
It's called the DC Mini. I don't know why they are obsessed with this name, but I feel like they bring it up all the time. It's like, he's got the DC Mini. The DC Mini is able to do all of this. I'm like, okay.
Dreamcatcher Mini?
I had no idea. Doesn't matter. And the idea is that they're going to use it for, like, psychotherapy and stuff like that. Except, three of the prototypes go missing. And this is very dangerous because because they're, like, prototypes, they don't have, like, restricted access or, like, logins or anything like that. So anyone can use them for anything, and that's really, really dangerous because people can go into people's heads and mess shit up and stuff like that.
Okay.
So the main characters are the scientist lady, who is... I'm sorry, I'm not going to remember any of their names because they're Japanese names. Who is the one who is, like, the head of the project and the main psychotherapist. And she was already using the machine, like, outside of corporate boundaries because she was using it to give therapy to, like, certain people.
Okie dokie.
And then there was, like, the
detective?
The detective actually isn't one of these three main characters.
Oh, my bad.
That's why I'm going to get to that.
My bad.
It's one of the more frustrating parts of the film. There's the scientist who invented it, who is this morbidly obese man who is very, like, childlike and innocent. Like, he's a nerd who's, like, into his nerd shit.
Okay,
and he doesn't really understand the consequences of this stuff. But he's a brilliant scientist, and they keep on talking about how genius he is for inventing it, and how frustrating it is that he is, you know, so...
Tiny, immature.
And then there's the, I don't know if he was, like, the project lead or something like that. He was, like, the short little scientist dude who... I don't know what his purpose was, but I liked him because he had a big personality.
Okay.
I don't know how to describe it much beyond that. The detective is one of the frustrating elements, because he wasn't in the novel.
Oh, okay.
He was added specifically for the film, as, like, one of the patients that she was, like, helping with the psychotherapy, because he was, like, on a murder case, and he's going through, like, an anxiety-induced slump, and she's trying to, like, help him through his issues so he can get back to his work, and he winds up getting involved in it. And he works as kind of like a, audience insert to understand kind of thing, which I think is a smart move. The frustrating part is that the plot of the film, of them finding out who's got these machines and what all of that was,
sure,
all of that is way, 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 way harder to figure out what's going on with and what the point of it all is than the detective subplot of his own, like, issues he's working through. And the detective's plot was way more interesting.
Oh, that's actually that's not what I was expecting to hear.
Yeah, so that's why I'm talking about, like, there isn't spoilers. At first they think that the machines were stolen by the obese scientist's assistant.
Sure.
And then they later find out that it's none other than, like, the chairman of the company that is making it.
Of
because
course.
he's not okay with people, like, going into people's dreams, except his motivations don't make any sense.
No, they do not.
He self-proclaims himself as being like the guardians of dreams or something like that. And the way he talks, I almost think that he's supposed to be like someone who came from dreams. It doesn't make sense. And then suddenly he wants to become all-powerful through dreams at the end. I'm like, I don't know. I don't like this. I don't care anymore.
Sorry. This is just so anime.
Yeah, I know. And meanwhile, like, the detective story is like, oh, he used to be a big film guy, and he had a best friend, and they used to make films together, and he was really, really jealous of his friend because his friend was just better at him in everything, including filmmaking, and he just kind of, like, left him. He just ditched this guy because he was, like, so sick of, like, always living in a shadow, and his friend was really hurt by this, and they went their separate ways, and then his friend died of some illness, and he's always felt guilty because of what he did to his friend.
That is an interesting story.
Yeah, and that story was, like, very, very clearly told, and was really interesting. And then when he gets all over this, he helps them, he helps save them before the climax, and then his story's over, and then we have to go into, like, the climax where the dreams are breaking into reality and stuff like that, and it's like, stop! I don't know what's going on. I don't know who I don't know who the villains are or why they're here. They only showed up, like, once before with, like, one major, like, dialogue scene.
You know who wrote the, like, movie?
The novel that it was based on, or the script of the movie?
The script movie.
I don't know if Satoshi Kon wrote the script. He might have.
It doesn't sound like he did.
Because he talks about, like, how he doesn't really care if people don't fully understand his films. He'll say something like, if you go in understanding only 60 or 70%, and then you rewatch it, you might understand more. It's like, I'm fine with that being the case. And I'm like, okay, I can understand how, in a lot of these ways, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a lot of weird sequences and logical fallacies and, like, contradictions in it which don't bother me. It's more of, like, who is this villain guy? Why does he care so much? What is going on?
I might have to watch that, because, like, I'm always of the opinion, I hate it when there's, like, when something doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I don't know if, I feel like I might be okay with it the way you are, but I'd have to see it, because I don't know if I've experienced that. Because most of the time if I watch something and, like, there's a small thing that doesn't make any sense, like I was watching the third Batman movie and the Christian Bale one, and there's tons of shit in that movie.
Dark Knight Rises, yeah.
Yeah, there's tons of shit in that movie that doesn't make any fucking sense. And all of it bothered me. All of it. Every element of that was, like, nagging at my head, like, how the fuck did he get here? Why is there bikes in the World Trade Center, or not the World Trade Center, but whatever the fuck it was called?
Why is it suddenly nighttime? Actually, I do know that one. I'm kind of happy about that one. It's daytime, you know, when they're robbing the Wall Street thing. It only becomes nighttime when Batman shows up, because it's, like, symbolic.
Ah, okay.
And
still doesn't make sense.
It doesn't... I'm sure there's, like, lots of stuff. Like I said, I don't care about, like...
little things.
That's not a little thing, but it is a stylistic thing.
Okay.
He didn't really care about, like, it working in logical sense in the real world, because it is a story, and that doesn't matter. And I think a lot of the people who are, like, really into channels like CinemaSins need to fucking get over themselves for. The bigger problems with, you know, The Dark Knight Rises is more like, Bane, what are you trying to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
You want to blow up the city? Why? I thought you were trying to, like, you know, make a example of how society should be run. You're kind of contradicting yourself when you just blow it up.
It's Fallout 3 all over again.
Anyway, I don't want to get into a Dark Knight Rises tangent, mostly because I'm not prepared to.
Do you want to get into a CinemaSins Sucks tangent? Because I'm willing to do that.
No, we don't need to do that. Hey, anyone who doesn't like CinemaSins and isn't already familiar with a channel called Sean, S-E-A-N, Sean. He's a guy with, like, a skull as his YouTube icon. Watch his videos on CinemaSins. They're really, really good. And if you didn't hate CinemaSins already, you will at least be incredibly fucking frustrated with CinemaSins and why they're so popular.
I don't want to get into that too much if you don't want to. But I used to be really into CinemaSins, and then I met you, and then I talked about CinemaSins in front of you, and you explained in detail why that's a bad thing. And then I watched some of those videos, and I was like, ah.
I didn't realize you did a 180.
Oh, I totally did. I get it now.
Most people I know who like CinemaSins, I've shown the videos, and they're like, well, that doesn't change my opinion. I just like CinemaSins. It's just entertaining to me. And that annoys me, because I'm like, there's so much, like, entertainment out there that has real value to it that you could be enjoying instead.
Again, not this episode. I am totally willing to bash them, though. Just not now.
Yeah.
Now we have to talk about JoJo.
We have to talk about JoJo's now? I'm not sure if I'm done talking about Paprika.
Well, then you talk about Paprika so that we can get into the JoJo discussion.
I'm trying to think of, like, stuff I'd bring up. It's mostly complaints, which is a shame, because, like I said, the visuals... Okay, Inception. That's what we need to talk about. So a lot of people are like,
Great.
Well, this movie heavily inspired Inception.
Sure.
And then there's always those, like, stands that are like, Inception ripped them off. And I'm like, well... That's not true, and especially now after watching it, I'm like,
Okay.
That's not true, and it's very, very unfair to claim that. Like, it's obviously about machines that go into people's dreams, but, like, in Inception, the machine is the least important part about the process, you know?
Sure.
Where it's like, in Inception, the fact that there is a machine that lets people go into dreams is just an accepted fact of the universe, and is never explained, and it doesn't need to be. Which is, by the way, that's a great example of those, like, these are details that do not need to be explained to the audience at all. Whereas, on the other hand, the machine in Paprika is, like, a big part of the plot. It's, like, the whole purpose of why it existed, and how it works, and stuff like that. Because how it works is a big thing, because the machine can remotely insert dreams into people's heads who have extensive use with the machine before. So, like, all the three main scientists who invented it and have worked with it all the time, they can literally be remotely accessed from, like, anywhere. And that's really, really frustrating, because it's one of the things that's like, okay, now there's something happening, I have no idea why, and I'm rolling with it, and we're getting through it, and now they're doing this long explanation of what just happened, and now it's no longer going to come up for the rest of the movie. But whatever.
So I just want to make it quite clear immediately. I have never seen Inception, and I have no plans on watching it.
You've never seen Inception?
No, I didn't care for the idea behind it, and I didn't want to watch it, and I still don't.
Inception's a good movie.
I'm not disagreeing with that. It's just not one I want to watch.
I get that, like, the culture around it is obnoxious.
I don't even acknowledge any element of it.
Well, why?
Just don't know. I had nothing about it has ever appealed to me. Besides, some of the memes were funny.
It is a good action movie. And, I don't know, I find, like, dream exploration as a really cool fantasy science fiction setting. Because it is one of those limited possibility spaces, or unlimited possibility spaces.
I kind of don't.
No?
Yeah, I don't know why entirely, but, like, maybe just because my dreams suck, but... it's not something I have any interest in, like, exploring.
Man, my personal D&D world building thing is a in dreams universe.
Yeah, isn't it in a beholder's dream?
Well, that's one of them. That's not my main one. That was my... Maybe I can work around 5th edition and just make something specifically based around D&D instead of just my... I wish I could make my own, like, series of video games in my own fantasy world and also make it into a D&D setting and everything else kind of thing. The big one, you know.
Just the idea of being in dreams is something that fascinates you.
My eyes are glazed over, I'm imagining shit while I'm at work, and now I'm coming up with characters in my own fantasy world because world building is a fun hobby. Not a useful one, but it's a fun one.
Enjoyable.
Anyway. We're gonna have to watch Inception, dude. I know you say you're not interested, but as long as you're not belligerently against it, I'm gonna have to say you should just watch it, just for me, just watch it.
I'm probably gonna have to watch it with you at some point because I will not seek it out.
Yeah, that's fine.
We can't do it today for reasons we know. We won't tell anyone, but yeah, I guess I'll watch it.
Oh man, that's okay. Well,
you look really demoralized now. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do this to you.
Well, here's the thing. I can understand just people hating Inception.
Sure.
Because, again, there's kind of an obnoxious culture around it. People, like, act like it's a really, really smart movie and stuff when it's just not. Mm-hmm. It's just a good action film, and that's all there really is to it. And then there's the people who, like, hate it because it ripped off Paprika, and I'm like, well, it didn't. Like, there's some echoes and, like, certain visuals, but, like, the big city bending scene, which I'm sure you've seen clips of, like, that's not in Paprika. Paprika's big crazy visuals are actually really unique to animation.
Here's a question, actually. Should I watch Paprika first?
Sure. You'd like it more.
Oh, okay.
You would like it more.
Alright. I am intrigued. I probably will watch it, just because I find the explanation you're giving me pretty funny.
Well, if you are frustrated by things that don't make sense, you might not like Paprika more. The nice thing about Inception is that it really does make sense all the way through. Like, the only, like, thing that doesn't is the, possibly ambiguous ending. Who the fuck cares? It's not the point of the movie.
I know the ending.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck that. It's not the point. Anyway, so Paprika's cool visuals is the parade.
Okay.
So, the guys...
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Like, I'm imagining the Disney thing, Fantasia.
Kinda, yeah. So, the people who steal the DC Mini, are using a insane person's dreams as a weapon, like, putting it into other people's heads to drive them insane, too. And he is dreaming of this ongoing parade of, like, living appliances and animal people and weird Japanese dolls and, like, just this bizarre, funky music playing. It's this gigantic smorgasbord of bizarre visuals, and it just marches through other people's dreams, like, busting through buildings during, like, other scenes and stuff like that, and it's great. And I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it wasn't the actual, like, weird, trippy shit. There's some, like, people blending together as, like, piles of goop and stuff like that, and I wasn't as impressed with it as, say, Akira.
Okay.
You've seen Akira, right? What the fuck?
So, Akira's one I know I'm supposed to watch.
Okay, shut up. We're gonna watch Akira. That's more important.
I'll probably watch Akira tonight if it's so important. I know I've genuinely been planning on watching it for, like, years. Like, this is just one of the things that's always been on the back burner. I've just never gone through with it.
And here's the thing about Akira, is that it's years old. So
I
all
know.
of its visuals had no, like, computer, like, animation helping it at all. It's all hand-drawn. And that's what makes... Oh, my God. Okay.
This is what I mean when I say I'm not a real anime fan.
I just think that this is making all my discussions I was pre-planning in my head just impossible to do now, because I'm comparing it to these things that everybody knows, but you apparently don't.
I know about Akira more than I know about Inception.
That's insane to me.
I respect your position. I'm not happy with the fact that I haven't seen it either. I just haven't. I don't watch movies and shows as much as I should.
I was going to bring it back to one of my biggest problems with Paprika is simultaneously one of my biggest problems with anime and the way anime storytelling is done.
Yes.
And stuff like that.
I think I know it.
There is a big show don't tell element where they don't follow that. They just
Tell.
They
show and then also tell you.
And, like, ironically, like, if you wanted to make these scenes make more sense, and they needed to, like, fit it in, like, you didn't need to make the movie longer or anything. You could cut out these exposition scenes and remake them in better ways, and it would make it a better movie,
Yes. This is my biggest complaint with all anime, because it's in almost everything except Miyazaki stuff.
Well, Akira is the #1 example of, like, proof that Japanese movies do not need to
tell.
Yeah, it is so good at, like, showing you off the world and showing you off the politics and the mood and, like, the crisis at hand entirely through the visuals and the events of what's happening, without, like, explaining, like, this is what the government is like now. This is how people are, like, protesting. I'm like, no, you're just witnessing protesters getting shot by police and army
and with
people.
That, immediately you understand the situation.
Like, a little kid ran out into a spotlight. They all open fire on him. It's like, what the fuck? And that's instantly conveyed to you.
You need to calm down a little bit?
It was a good movie.
I'm going to watch it, but I need you to not keep talking about it.
That's the beginning of the film. This is not how I imagine this going.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I've disappointed you.
Funny thing though, show don't tell. I mean, the reason why Japanese anime doesn't typically have it is because that's not a writing. It's not taught in school in Japan.
Okay.
It is a Western concept, specifically a capitalist Western concept.
What?
Yeah. So there's an interesting video. I recommend I think it's on YouTube now. Originally, it was on The Escapist. It's by a guy named Movie Bob. It's part of his Big Picture series, and it's all about American propaganda. And you only need to watch. It's 2 videos. We only need to watch the first one because the second one isn't as interesting. But during the Cold War, one of the things that the CIA actually did successfully was influence art and writing and stuff like that by pumping money into certain things and supporting certain artists and stuff like that, and basically trying to create a culture that was antithetical to the one that was happening in Russia. So, like, instead of, like, Russian realism, modern art became a thing. Like, if you ever fucking thought that, like, oh, it's a bunch of splashed colors on a thing, this isn't art, my kid could do it, it's dumb. Blame the CIA, because they're the ones that made it a thing.
I'm going to watch that video, because that's the most fascinating thing you've ever said to me.
Yeah.
The idea that
Show don't tell is
Show don't tell
is anti-socialist propaganda.
I gotta watch that.
It's good. It's good. Listeners, Movie Bob on The Escapist, or possibly on his own YouTube channel, Big Picture American Propaganda. I'm sure you'll find it with some Google searches. And yeah, very, very good video. Now, mind you, I do prescribe to the show don't tell philosophy of it. I do think that creates more interesting things. I recognize that it is not an actual objective measure of quality.
Oh, definitely.
But it is the culture I was raised in, and when I watch too much anime where it's just exposition, it's Naruto fighting against the other guy, and then they stop, and they're doing inner monologues, and everybody who's watching the fight is all explaining what's happening instead of them actually fighting. It drives me insane.
Dragon Ball, One Piece, Naruto, Bleach. I don't want to say I hate all of them, but that element of it takes 30 episodes to show one fight, I fucking hate.
Yeah, it takes multiple episodes for Goku to escape a planet that's exploding in 5 minutes.
It's
multiple 20-something minute episodes.
I can't express to you how much I despise that.
Yeah.
It is the most frustrating thing, and I do not understand how people can just have the patience. I do not have that patience.
But they do, and that's fine.
That is fine. 100%. If you like Dragon Ball, I'm proud of you. You've done it. You liked the big one.
You like the most basic bitch of all shonen animes.
You've managed it. Now, to talk about... we're probably just not going to talk about Breath of the Wild.
We're going to talk about JoJo's now?
I would like to talk about JoJo's.
I'm listening about JoJo's. And we can still talk about Breath of the Wild. We can't talk about JoJo's for that long, can we?
Sure.
Okay, so all of my knowledge from JoJo's comes entirely
from the memes?
No.
Oh.
From a YouTuber named Super Eyepatch Wolf.
Okay.
Who does Why You Should Watch Animes. And is pretty much the only person on the internet who's ever actually made me not just balk at the idea of anime. What? He's like, I've watched like anime review channels and stuff like that before, and I'm like, this is all dumb. People who like anime are dumb. But Super Eyepatch Wolf is really good in that he's just a very, very sincere dude who sincerely loves his anime. And while he's not like a fantastic analyzer and critiquer of media, he is very good at genuinely describing what he loves about the animes he loves and why he thinks you should watch it too. Okay. He is the reason I watched Hunter x Hunter.
Ah, okay,
and
good.
I enjoyed Hunter x Hunter for the most part.
You haven't even finished it.
And even though for most of his videos he does like why you should watch, this series, for JoJo's he's done one for every season so far.
Okay.
And if you want to know why you should watch JoJo's, consider watching his videos.
Okay, so I wanted to explain. This is something about JoJo's I've had to learn.
Yeah.
Season Part 1 and Part 2 are either going to be your favorite parts or your least favorite parts.
Yeah, I know.
And for you, I think they'll be your favorite.
The only JoJo's I have watched is part of the first season, and I wasn't really enjoying that.
Part 2's better.
Yeah, I've heard.
Okay. I know I'm going to be talking a lot of, apologize for that.
Mm-hmm.
But in Part 1 is basically Beowulf.
Huh.
That's the way I look at it. It's literally just the most basic story of a hero being the hero that you can come up with, but in a Japanese style. And his Japanese, Akira's view of, English culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine. It doesn't really get to, the part everyone likes, which is the stands, and that doesn't happen until Part 3.
Yeah.
Part 2 is a lot more interesting, because it delves way deeper into the idea of vampires, which, as you know, I know you know, is an idea of the first part.
Yeah, the main bad guy, or I don't know if he's the main of the whole series, but he is of certain arcs. Dio is a vampire.
Dio. He's
I don't know if I love or am horribly frustrated by the fact that they have a bunch of references to prog rock as all the character names.
Oh, I don't know how to. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
It's just Like, I do like that, but I'm also really annoyed that JoJo fans are obsessed with trying to make their thing more popular than the music so that you can't find it in Google searches.
I don't
Like, that's a thing.
I do not acknowledge JoJo fans except the ones I know.
I hate you cunts.
That's completely valid.
Look, the reason they're using all these names and things for their characters is because the songs are good. Listen to those songs and albums and bands.
Yeah, that's exactly correct.
Like, the writer's trying to give you a message here. This is great music. You should listen to it, not try to shut it out so other people can't.
Everyone loves REO Speedwagon. Speedwagon most of all. But the first part's all about the vampires. It's very simple. It's very short.
Roundabout's such a good song, and now it's just the JoJo end credits theme, and it bothers me so much.
Part 2 is a lot more interesting because it delves deeper into the idea. It has Joseph, who's a far more interesting character than Jonathan, and he goes into the wonder of Hammond, which is immediately going to be dropped very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. Part 3 is where if you like shonen anime, you will start to like this more.
Yeah, well, from what I understand, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it's not just that, it's just good.
Mm-hmm.
It is also a long-running series.
Yes.
And a hugely influential one. So, whether or not you just find it good or not, you have to acknowledge the fact that if it didn't exist, neither would anyone's favorite shonen animes.
No.
Because it basically is the thing that created all of those.
Here's the thing.
Even though it only now is getting this anime adaptation.
Yeah, that is bizarre.
Well, I'm glad that they at least did it justice,
Sure.
It's a really good adaptation.
JoJo's is, as you said, basically the originator of all of them. But JoJo's has a specific element that if they don't explain, a lot of things you just won't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you took away the explanation of what a stand is, even though it really doesn't make sense, it would make way less sense without it. You would have no fucking clue, because there's no consistency. Like, there are stands that can go miles apart, and there are ones that can only be, a meter from you at any given time, and it's there's no way to, match that in your head as the same power.
Yeah.
The idea that stand users are drawn to each other is confusing, because why would they be? But they are. How there are so many doesn't make any sense, even though it's explained.
My least favorite part of Hunter x Hunter was Nen.
Yes.
And it was them explaining the Nen system that gave them their unique powers, and how these powers are being used and interacting with one another, and it's like someone giving me a tutorial on a video game instead of me experiencing a story. And I get it. This is a lot of people's favorite fucking thing in anime. And it's why they like anime. They love the system. They love the explanations. They love thinking about how cool it is that this character is so clever that they can use their weird, bizarre, and totally unique power in this weird and bizarre and totally unique way.
Yes. I like that a lot myself, and as you know, I like Hunter x Hunter. But I'm not ignorant to the idea that this is fucking annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And I do hate it to an extent, especially in Hunter x Hunter, which is one of my favorite animes.
Oh, yeah?
It's one of my favorite shonen animes. Definitely my favorite shonen anime, I should say. It's one of my favorite animes. I don't know entirely why, I just love it. I love everything about it. But that explanation is definitely the worst part, because it takes so long, it's so tedious, and it's so dumb. JoJo's has the benefit of the explanation is fairly minimal of what the actual system is, just because it doesn't make any sense anyway. There's not really a way to explain what a stand is in a way that makes any logical sense to a human being, because why would any of that be a thing that'd be happening now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the thing that I like most about JoJo's is that it is kind of a continuous story, but each element is different.
Yeah.
I said, the first one's Beowulf.
It's got the award-winning formula of... Because I think a big problem with a lot of the shonen anime is they just go on way too long.
Absolutely.
And it's this is... Dragon Ball, this is burnt out, dude.
Dragon Ball? Let's try One Piece.
Well, One Piece, that's an interesting thing. I don't want to get into it, because I don't know enough about One Piece. I know about it from Super Eyepatch Wolf's videos, in which he's made a very good case for it to me, which I'm fascinated by the existence of One Piece.
Same.
But, still, Jotaro's, it's really cool, because, okay, this story arc is done, new main character, same world, same rules apply.
Next 20 years,
new, entirely new story if I want to.
That's one of the things I love about it. I'm really excited for part 7. Is it part 7? Yeah,
that's me.
Part 6. Part 6 is going to be Jolene Joestar.
Yeah. That's one of the other things. I really like the guy who writes and illustrates JoJo's because I got to witness after the fact how his art style evolved. I'm like, that's really cool that he went from like these really big, buff, hardline dudes to like these really soft, curvy, more feminine designs and stuff like that, to the point where literally the newest one for the anime is going to be a female character, and it's like, that's cool.
Well, I don't want to like disparage that. I'm just saying like that happened before. She's been around for a while. Yeah. But I mean, you knew that. I love the way the art style evolves. I love that he was just copying Fist of the North Star, then got continually better and better. Mm-hmm. My favorite part, I'm going to go ahead into it, is part 4.
Part 4, not part 3.
No, everyone's favorite part is part 3, and they're all wrong. Part 4 is my favorite part. It is Josuke's Diamond is Unbreakable.
He's the one. Okay, his stand is healing powers, right? Yep. And his uncle is Jotaro, who is the main character of part 3. Whoops.
And his dad is Joseph.
From part 2?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
He cheated on his wife.
Nice.
Yeah. It's my favorite part because it's all contained into one city. Mm-hmm. As opposed to part 3, which is a world traveling area, and part 5, which is also kind of a world tracking area.
Again, winning formula. The stories change so much in between story arcs.
Part 5 is more of a, not world traveling, but Italy traveling. They go through like all of Italy.
That's very interesting, actually.
Yeah, part 5 is actually is entirely based in Italy. It's all about mob bosses and shit, like hardcore.
Oh, okay.
I think
I have no assumptions about Italy.
You might like that one. But part 4 is all set in this one city in Japan, and it's bizarre, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Like, the main villain in part 4 is not Dio. It is a man known as Kira. Wait.
Isn't Kira from, the one with the journal, Death Note?
I don't know. I didn't watch Death Note.
I suppose they can have the same name.
I tried so hard to watch Death Note a lot because all my friends were into it in high school, and I could not get into it.
I don't want to get into Death Note. I don't like Death Note. I think Death Note is a show for people who are too stupid to understand that they actually do like anime.
Damn. That was harsh. I never got into it. Kira is the main villain in part 4. It's 4. I keep mixing it up. I apologize, everyone. I'm not
very... To be fair, this is very confusing.
I just think that that's the best one. For you, I think you should at least watch... if you need to skip part 1, this is one thing I'll say. No JoJo fan will ever tell you this. Every single one will be like, watch all the way through.
No, most of them have told me to skip part 1.
Bullshit.
Most of them have told me to either skip part 1 or skip parts 1 and 2.
I have told you to skip parts 1 and 2 if you hate them. Skip part 1. I think you'll enjoy part 2 a lot. Part 3, you might enjoy. I think you'll be with me on part 4. And part 5, I think you'd be kind of into. Part 1, though, it is so basic, and that's the problem. Even though the explanation, the visuals are kind of cool, it's just so simple. It's literally Beowulf. That's why I describe it as that, because it's the same basic story of that basic hero does basic good thing, gets girl in end.
See, I would be fine with that.
Except for the ending.
I get hung up on, like, the bizarre, like, weird things. Like, Dio stole his girlfriend's first kiss.
Yes.
Like, what? What?
He's a bad person.
And she never kissed a guy, and he kissed her, and that was her first kiss, and that's horrible.
Yes. Well, she was upset about it. It was important to her. I don't know what you want from me.
It's just silly. This is the kind of stuff that I get hung up on when watching the show.
I don't know what to respond to that. I'll be honest. It's just like a small element of it.
It's so par for the course for anime for me though. It's like weird stuff like that.
The whole point is that Dio's a piece of shit and he wants to like fuck over the entire Joestar clan.
Yeah.
Just because he doesn't like them.
Yeah.
Because of not even really anyone's fault. Dio's a shit.
I got that.
But yeah, it's a good show. you kind of... They do have the... I'm not going to lie to you. They do have the explanations.
Yeah.
They definitely do. But like I said, a lot of them are required. Some of them aren't. Like, I'm trying to think of an example from part 3, which is they're on a boat.
Yeah, the boat's a stand. Spoilers.
No, that's part 5.
Oh, what the fuck?
Sorry. Kind of. You've made this more difficult for me. Part 3, there's a... Wait, no, that was a different thing. Part 3, there is a boat...
To be fair, listeners, this is very confusing.
If they watch JoJo, they are totally on board.
Yeah, they are. I know. They're already so into this.
And
they love it.
Part 3, they're on a ship, and there's a captain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very obvious immediately that the captain's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even need to... They don't acknowledge that. They don't think he's a bad guy, but it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's this really weird plot line where a little girl falls in love with Jotaro. Nothing happens, don't worry. That's just an element.
Okay, I wasn't actually,
I didn't think you'd be worried, but yeah, just want to make sure. Yeah, it's just... I like a lot of elements of it. I don't think it's as good as a lot of people like to say. I don't think it's the best anime. It might be the best manga. I haven't read the manga myself.
I read Berserk, and I really liked it. I don't think I'm going to like JoJo's as much as I liked Berserk, which is another one of those seminal, long-running, highly influential animes, or mangas. But it doesn't have an amazing anime adaptation. It has a really old one that's fine, and it's got a new one that's terrible.
I don't know the story of, like, the animations for Berserk. All I know is I've seen, like, a billion things that were, like, small elements of the story just animated, and some of them were horribly done. Like, I saw one where, like, the walking animation was moving the character up and down.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Berserk is that the currently running, I think it's currently running, anime adaptation is done completely through computer animation.
Yeah.
Instead of not necessarily hand-drawn.
But, like, yeah.
It's not 2D animation. It's 3D animation with some, like, textures to make it look a little bit more like it's 2D. But it's not just that. Which tends to make things look kind of janky and bad already.
Yeah.
But it's also the fact that it's done especially bad. It's done especially badly.
I don't really get it. I feel like Berserk is not a thing I've been into. I know a lot of the story, and I just don't think I'd be interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't really like that kind of plot line of, like, you know, main characters just gets shit on for, like, the entire time.
Well, I can assure you that in the worst part of it is that, and it's actually pretty much at the beginning. That's a weird thing to describe, because I think people would argue with me on that.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Berserk because when I was reading the manga, the character of Guts, who is an absolute piece of shit, his absolute piece of shittery is justified through his impossibly terrible life.
Mm-hmm.
They decide to just the writer, I felt, almost abandoned this concept and decided, no, this person needs to be a good and likable person. And It's not going to happen quickly. It's going to happen very slowly through him, meeting other people and opening up and growing as a person. And most of it is him, the Golden Age arc, the one that's depicted in the original anime, is him doing that for the first time, and that ends in horrible tragedy. Spoilers. But then the series keeps on going and going and going and going, and he's still a better person from that, and he's still getting better as it goes on. And that was really important to me.
I mean, I don't know. I'll have to wait till it's done, which it never will be.
Maybe I'll have, like, a big Berserk discussion sometime, but...
I mean, I'd probably want to look more into it myself. Just let me know.
I would recommend watching the original anime series.
Okay, I might.
It's easy enough to watch. A lot of my problems with the first issues of the manga are just fixed in the anime. They're like, we're not going to tread into dumb stuff that the manga did.
How long is it?
Like 14 episodes, I think.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's one season.
I was thinking 13, and I was like, yeah, that's a good amount. I'll watch that.
Yeah, I would recommend it.
I kind of want to check it out, but like I said, that's the element I didn't like, and if it's just true that he gets better, then I'd probably be into it.
Yeah. By the end of the series, I mean, the ending is, if that's all you plan on doing is watching the show, the ending's frustrating.
Okay.
But...
Well, we'll discuss it.
Anyway. Do you want to talk about Breath of the Wild now? We got, some time to burn before we should end this podcast.
I mean, we can. We don't have that much time, though.
We can talk about it for 20 minutes.
I love every element of it. Well, not every element.
Okay.
So I was playing it recently. I've been playing that when I get home from work, just because it's something I want to do, and I like the game a lot. And
Yeah, it's a very good, oh, shoot. It's a very good abnegation kind of game. One where it's not about accomplishing anything, it's about blowing off steam.
Yes.
Or maybe it is about accomplishment, but it's little accomplishments. It's getting this one thing done. It's grinding to that next level. It's the reason why a lot of MMOs and RPGs are popular.
Tonight I'm just going to go on top of that mountain and see what's up.
Yeah.
I've been just, like, having fun with it. I bought the Switch version, because the version I played originally was the Wii U version.
Same.
Really?
Yep.
Most people I talked to didn't know there was a Wii U version.
Well, I had a Wii U.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to play Breath of the Wild because everyone's like, it's the greatest game ever, and I played it, and I'm like, this is really good. And I got pretty far. But I wound up getting the Switch version, and that's the version I beat, and that's the version I 100%ed.
I, bought that. I got all the DLC with it, which I'm only mildly excited for, because I found out most of it's just go look for armor or whatever.
Yeah, none of the armor sets were good.
I got the Phantasma one.
The old Phantasm Soldier?
Yeah, from
Spirit Tracks and the other one. Phantom Hourglass.
Okay. I don't know the series well enough.
I think that particular armor looks dumb and clashes with the visual style of the rest of the game.
It definitely does, because every single time I walk up to someone, they go, oh! Because they're frightened by it, and I'm like, this is so annoying.
Yeah. Also, it's broken to get early on because it has a really powerful effect on it.
What's
the damage boosting? That's something that, like, you shouldn't have access to that early in the game, which is why, like...
The game's just kind of broken.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I don't know. I hate fighting Lionels.
I love fighting Lionels.
No, like, I like the fight.
Okay.
I hate how long it takes. It takes so long. Every time.
I mean, I'm at a point where it's definitely not a quick fight, but it's not a really long fight.
Well, when I was doing it, like, I was getting the armor, and one of the places you need to go in the armor is the Colosseum. There's a Lionel in there, there's a bunch of enemies.
Yeah.
And I was like, alright.
That's my go-to, I feel like fighting a Lionel.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have enough weapons, so I basically had to wander around the area. I got a bunch of rusty shit. I fought some of the things that the Moblins? Moblins. I apologize. I'm not good at anything. I fought a bunch of Moblins with the rusty weapons to get their good weapons, but like a bunch of other stuff so I could have like enough weapons to kill the damn thing, and it took like 20 minutes to kill it. And this is after failing like 15 times. I finally did it, and then I got the armor, and then I had to go do stuff that wasn't this for a while. And I just like...
The problem with Moblins is that they have so much health and the fucking weapons... What did I say?
You said Moblins.
I said Moblins. The problem with Lionels is they have so much health, and because of the weapon degradation system, you need to have a ton of equipment just to fight them. Because if you don't have super powerful weapons, they will literally just all break over the course of the fight. And that is fucking frustrating.
I think we've talked about Joseph Anderson before.
Yeah.
And
his video on Breath of the Wild is very good.
Like...
It's very good.
I know a lot of people have a lot of problems with that video.
And he doesn't come down on it as hard as people like to claim.
No, he definitely does not. But that video kind of pointed out to me how broken the weapon degradation system is.
Yeah, it also does a good job explaining what was good about it and why that was unfortunately ruined.
And, like, I didn't really think about it when I was playing it the first time. It just didn't matter to me. I guess because I did everything how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
I did it, like... I went to the village to meet Impa. I did the next part. I went to find the fish villages. I did everything in sequence.
Yeah, I did the same thing too. I did the Zora village, the Goron village, the Rito village, and then the Gerudo last. I didn't
do it that way. I did the Zora, I did Rito last. I did the Gerudo second, and I did the Goron third.
See, I just went like counterclockwise around the map basically.
I just went where it was interesting.
And I tried 100% every area as I encountered it before I moved on to the next one. So it was a slow-going experience for me, but I was fine with that.
When I was doing it, I basically went into the area, did all the missions as I could for the next one, and then I found out there was a desert, and I was like, I want to go to the desert, and I just went to the desert. And
the desert's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I did that. That's how I discovered everything. That's how I played it. But in this one, I went to the Rito village first.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to experience that. I couldn't afford the armor, so I couldn't afford being in cold areas for very long, and it wasn't worth it for me to spend 20 minutes making all the food. for that trouble. So I was like, fuck it. I just went back and started doing the main quest so I could increase my armory stash. I hate how, like, Hatsu? Is it Hatsu? The giant Kokoro? Hestu. I hate him, like, to an extent. Like, I don't want to, because it's, like, cute, and I like it, but at the same time,
But you have to sit through an animation, and...
Even skipping it is too long.
Well, okay. This is a Nintendo-specific problem. They are really weird about certain things, like animations.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, okay, well, every time you upgrade your inventory, you'll have, like, a little animation of him dancing, and it'll do a different color depending on which type of inventory you're upgrading. That's cute. Once.
Yes.
Just let me do, first of all, 10 upgrades at once, because I've got 1,000 fucking Korok seeds.
Yeah.
Let me do a ton of upgrades at once, and you can play the animation in full if you want to. Just let me do all of them. Don't make me watch this 50 times in a row.
It really annoyed the crap out of me, and then I, like, kept wanting my inventory to be increased, so, like, I'm at, right now in the game, I'm at the forest, I'm with the tree, and I cannot tank the damage for the sword. So I'm mildly frustrated by that.
See, I had a specific rule when I played, was that every time I got the Spirit Orders to upgrade my health or stamina, I would always back and forth between the two and upgrade them equally as I go. So it was purposely a very long time before I was able to get the Master Sword, because it was very purposely I did not have enough health to get it. I do love, that's one of those great mechanics in that game. The only gate on this most powerful weapon in the game is how powerful you are, represented by how much health you have, and you can cheat it if you want to. Well, kind of. You just go out of your way to upgrade your health as fast as possible and then run straight to the forest.
I thought there was another way. I was like, really?
No, you can't, like, make a special food or anything like that.
I know you can't do that. I like the mechanic idea. I just hate that it's, like, for me, I always feel that the more important thing is the stamina.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like, if I'm, like, trying to go up a wall in the rain, it's a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah.
One of the towers was like that. It was, like, surrounded by a swampy area, and there was, like, enemies.
Yeah.
And it was raining all the time, and I got to a point where, like, there was a giant wall I had to climb, and I literally couldn't do it until the rain stopped, so I just wait for 10 minutes. That was frustrating.
You've beaten the game before, right? Mm-hmm. You haven't beaten the DLC yet?
No.
So,
it's one of the goals, actually.
The DLC, there's two DLC things that make the DLC worth it. Maybe not the price that they're charging for it, but it's worth having.
Yeah.
The challenge of the sword is the one where you power up your Master Sword by going through a series of, like, levels where you don't have any equipment, kind of like Eventide Island.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's really cool.
I love the island a lot. It's my favorite elements.
It's something I actually hated doing at first, but as the levels evolved, they got really, really, really cool, and I really appreciated it by the end. There's, like, 4 levels you go through, and each one goes through at least 2 different, like, themes. Like, first you're just in a forest, but then they add in, like, waters and, like, rocky environments and stuff like that, and you know how much more dangerous things are when they're firing arrows on you from platforms and you're on a little raft and you have nowhere to, like, run or hide.
Yeah.
But then they go even cooler, and they're like, oh, well, here is an area that's pitch black, and you need to have a light source. Here is an area that is, you know, in lava or in superheated volcano area. This is super cold frost area. This is during a constant lightning storm.
Mm-hmm.
And it just ramps up, and it's cool. I really enjoyed doing it by the end of it. I hated it at first, but when they started introducing more and more, like, tricks to it, that's when I started really liking it.
Keeps going up.
The other one was the Trial of the Sword, which was neat. I liked it, but it's mostly more shrines.
Oh.
And it's kind of like extra challenges on the world map, which are fun.
Okay.
The thing that, honestly, I didn't like about it was that I wish more of, like, the random quests were designed more like these.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a thing they'll do where it's like, okay, we'll race to the finish by going through these rings to get to the end. A very classic video gamey thing.
Yeah.
They could have had this all over the game if they wanted to. But instead, most of the quests in Breath of the Wild is collect a certain number of thing. Give me 50 crickets. Give me 55 rush mushrooms. Give me one of each type of dragonfly. They're all fetch quests.
There is, as you know, you've 100%ed, there are Kokoros that do that. Like, there's the one on the Frozen Mountain.
Yeah, there's, like, you know, maybe half a dozen Korok variation challenges. They get really old really fast.
Especially if you do all of them. I never did all of them.
I didn't do all of them.
Oh, okay.
When I say 100%ed, I mean 100% in that I maxed out my inventory, which only requires like 400 something Korok seeds out of the 900 available.
I thought there were 400. Oh my god.
There's 900.
That's horrible.
But yeah, if you thought I 100%ed 400, in that case I did, because I did at least 400.
Sure. I recently did the dragon, for the one on the frozen mountain that you have to fight.
Yeah.
That's the one I did most recently. I didn't do it intentionally. I was just kind of exploring. I didn't even have like the proper equipment.
Mm-hmm. I love how during this whole thing we've just been talking about Breath of the Wild, just assuming our listeners know everything we're talking about.
Well, I don't know what to explain.
No, I mean, they probably do. Breath of the Wild was supremely popular.
If you don't, leave a comment. I did that. I went up there. I like flew around and fought it, and I got the scale, and I was really impressed with myself because I did all of it without a single like anti-cold food.
And you didn't have to like land by accident and screw it up like that.
I did land a couple times, but like it doesn't matter because the updraft that he does when he's flying was fine.
I love that was like just an in-world like thing that was happening. It wasn't like a special event.
Yeah.
It wasn't a. It didn't transition to like a special boss fight where you're in a limited area. It's like no, he's just moving around on the world map. You were interacting with him as he moves around on the world map.
I think that's one of those elements of Breath of the Wild that's probably that makes it better than just about every other open world. Is just that almost every quest, even to an extent, a lot of shit you can just stumble upon.
Yeah.
Like the one that I remember from my first playthrough was the guru the forest lady or the desert ladies. I can't remember their names.
The Gerudo.
Gerudo.
I love those guys.
Yeah, well,
those ladies.
The Gerudo.
I use guys as a gender neutral term, which really gets under some people's skins.
I don't care. It's just I want it to be accurate.
Yeah.
The Guru, her love interest and the at the pond at the top.
Yeah.
I stumbled onto that at some point and I was like, oh, this is so cool.
I just really like the Gerudo. I'm like, wow, this was a race that was in Ocarina of Time. It wasn't really fleshed out. They were all bad guys, but here they are with like their own like little cultural details. I'm like, oh, the Gerudo, like they're really into, or their whole thing is since they're all women, they have to go out and they have to find husbands in order to breed and continue their species, and
they're all Amazons. And
but
cool.
Some of them like aren't into that idea, and other ones are like base their entire personality on it and stuff like that. And like some of them are like so bad at it they have to take classes on how to like meet men and talk to them.
Like the one where she's like, I don't understand. I just picked him up and took him.
and then like that was really cool. That's one of the coolest things in the game. It's just
Gerudo
town and just like learning about them.
That was a great. I didn't like the first time you go there when you don't have your cross-dressing outfit and you have to kind of sneak in.
Yeah,
that sucked, but it was like besides that was fun. I also hated the mission you do for the main. I don't want to say lolly. I don't want to be that guy, but her.
The Gerudo queen who's like a teenage girl.
Yeah,
we're gonna say she's like 14 or something like that.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, I hate that. I hate that a lot.
I don't hate that. I hate that the internet exists.
Yeah.
And it has to make something that, like, okay, she's young because her mom died and she's a de facto ruler, and part of her, like, thing is, like, she has to be a responsible adult, and be the ruler of the Gerudo, even though she's, like, really young and inexperienced and immature. That's good storytelling.
Yes. But then the internet comes along.
But then the internet comes along and sees an underage female character and ruins everything.
You ruin everything. I didn't like that Nintendo kind of baited it with the other one.
What other one?
Not the Highland, the scientist who helps you make your Shiki Slate.
I don't feel like they baited that. I think the internet's just terrible again.
I don't. She was 1,000 years old. Okay.
Oh yeah, the 1,000-year-old in like a little girl's body.
Yeah, that's kind of baiting it.
I'm saying she wasn't like doing anything sexual. She wasn't pressed sexually.
Oh, sure, but the fact that they
you don't need to do that. You just have to have, but she's actually thousands of years old in a child's body, as if that justifies it.
Exactly. That's the thing that I didn't like.
No, I'm not going to criticize Nintendo for Zelda and stuff like that. I am going to criticize them for Fire Emblem, because holy fuck, dude.
I don't know.
They do that on purpose. Fuck them.
I know you've told me about Fire Emblem to an extent, and I have an idea, but like, yeah, I'm not into that at all.
We'll have a discussion on Fire Emblem without Silas, because I do like the Fire Emblem series, but God, does it frustrate me.
Well, Silas likes it too.
I know. That's why we're not talking about it with him.
I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want to talk about it at all at the time.
Sorry, I brought it up. Three Houses is good though.
I don't mind.
Newest Fire Emblem is really good and doesn't do any of the shit I hate.
Only problem with
it does a little bit, but not as much.
My only problem with Fire Emblem is that you just won't stop talking about it, and I don't know anything about the series.
It's a weird thing with Fire Emblem fans too. Like I had a friend in high school where our only thing that we talked about was Fire Emblem.
I have a friend who will come into town like once a year, and then we'll hang out, and that'll be all you two talk about. And I'm just like, guys, I want to play some board games, all right?
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild is amazing. I'm really excited to keep playing. I'm probably going to be playing it for a few weeks.
Breath of the Wild, it is... I mean, I'm not going to say objectively amazing because that's incorrect, but it's obviously very good. It's still one of my least favorite of the Zelda games, though.
Well, yeah, but it's because you don't like open world games. Well, I don't want to judge you for that. I make your point for you, but that's one of the main reasons, as I understand it.
And that's the thing. I'm actually really excited that the next Zelda game that they've announced is going to be a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, and with the implication that it's going to be in the exact same style as Breath of the Wild.
Presumably.
Because I think that there are major weaknesses to Breath of the Wild in that as huge, as vast as it is, it's such a shallow game.
Yes, definitely.
And what I would want from a sequel is for them to not make it any vaster. In fact, if they just reused Hyrule as a map...
That'd be fine.
The map is perfect as it is. It's wonderful. It's got so many different environments. It's got so much things going to it.
It looks like from the trailer that they're going to do something underground, which I like the idea of.
Think about how cool that would be in Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
Cave systems.
Like literally...
Dungeons.
They literally take the map and just add another layer. That'd be so tight.
Breath of the Wild is like the first Zelda game in forever that hasn't had any sort of like underwater swimming and exploration.
I know.
Just imagine if they added that in.
I don't want.
Just imagine that.
I'm cool with them not adding that in.
Underwater, underground, dungeons. I thought a lot about how I would want dungeons done in Breath of the Wild too. Because the Divine Beast is like an interesting little concept where it's like, it's like an interactable thing. I don't think it's poorly executed at all.
I don't like them.
I think it's just shallow.
Sure.
A big problem with the dungeons in Breath of the Wild is a big problem with their enemies in Breath of the Wild, and that there's just not a huge variety of it. If I were to do it, I would just base it after what they did in the first Zelda, where most of the dungeons were just mazes filled with monsters, and different rooms that have different combinations of monsters, which would create different combat experiences.
Yeah, different combat, or different puzzles.
Exactly. Like, this is the room with this enemy that is armored from the front and has to be hit from the back, this enemy that teleports around the room and shoots you with beams, and this enemy where if it touches you, you can't use your sword.
Yes.
Like, that's a great little combat challenge. So, if they did the same thing with Breath of the Wild, the problem with Breath of the Wild is that it's got such small enemy variety that you're just fighting the same things over and over and over and over again.
I would like it if they, improved the climbing and weapon system, because, I didn't have a problem with these things when I first played it at all.
The weapon system is something that, I saw it at first, I'm like, this is stupid. I played with it, I'm like, no, this is actually neat. I thought about it, I'm like, this is actually very clever. I kept doing it, and I'm like, this is really frustrating.
It's just so annoying. That's actually one of the reasons I want the Master Sword, is just so I don't have to deal with that as much.
Yes.
That is, literally the only reason, and it's
The best part of fully upgrading your Master Sword, by the way, isn't that it makes it super powerful, it's that it respawns faster.
The fact that that's what they did with it proves that that's an issue.
Yeah.
I'd honestly be fine if they just did what they did in the original Zeldas, which is they gave you these weapons. You just have these ones.
Just a handful.
Yeah, that's fine.
But then they wouldn't have any rewards for doing anything.
I mean, there's, Terry Town, which is the town you make.
Actually, scratch that. I mean... you continue, but I want to introduce an idea I've been thinking about. Terrytown.
Sure. Oh, okay. We gotta be quick, though. Terrytown, I love Terrytown. It's my favorite part of the game. I felt like every reward I got from that was perfectly fine. Because it was just building this small town.
It just feels really satisfying to see it evolve. Even if you don't really get any actual
yes, exactly.
reward for it. It's just this permanently changes the game world in a way that is directly from my actions.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, you know what I realized when I was playing it is, why the fuck do all the towns sell armor and not weapons? It should just be the opposite.
Yes, definitely.
The armor should always be a reward for doing a quest, and the weapon should be something you can just buy because they're disposable anyway.
I'm so excited that you said that because I want to flip a table as I agree with you.
I agree with you so hard! Bam!
That is the smartest goddamn thing!
Because, like, that's the thing that drives me nuts. It's like, okay, the comparison to, like, ammo in video games, it's so good. It's like, oh, it's just like finding a pack of shotgun shells.
Sure.
You have 6 uses of it, and then you need to find more. And it's just like this fucking spear or whatever you find. You have 10 uses of it, and then it breaks. You find another one. It's the exact same gameplay loop. But most video games, especially, like, RPG-stylish ones, they'll let you buy shotgun shells in addition to finding it.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you want to use your shotgun, but you can't because you run out of fucking shells. I want to keep on using a fucking spear, but it keeps on breaking.
I equally did like the weapons you get from completing each of the things, because those are rechargeable.
Oh, you mean the hero weapons?
Yeah.
Yes, I just wish they recharged more like the Master Sword and didn't require me to go find diamond.
At the point that I had all of them, I had enough diamond for it wasn't an issue. But yeah, definitely.
I was planning on just using them as like my main weapons when I got them and just refixing them whenever I needed to.
Mm-hmm.
It was not practical enough. They were breaking too fast.
It's so frustrating. That's the one thing about like Joseph Anderson's video I brought up earlier that I agreed with more than anything, is that it's just stupid that there are areas that you can get to where you literally can't progress because there's a Lionel in the way and there's nothing you can do about him.
I mean, it's very easy to just ignore the Lionels and just keep going.
Sure.
Like, the exact Lionel he talks about is the one near the giant horse quest.
I would actually completely agree with that one. That one was dumb because you can just walk past him.
I mean, he just happened to run into it as the first thing, and he wanted to be able to fight it, and you just can't because he's too weak. Mind you, in the hard mode, the hero mode that they add in, which I keep on considering playing, have I ever complained to you about that?
No.
Okay, so you know how hero mode works in Breath of the Wild?
No.
Parts of it are really cool, other parts suck. So the first cool part is, every enemy is just upgraded 1 level.
Okay.
You know how it's all color-coded?
Yeah,
well,
so...
now there's no reds in the game.
It's all blue.
The base level is blue, and they added a new level above silver, and that's gold.
Okay.
The second part, which is really cool, is that they also add more enemies to the map and more challenges. Like, they have a new thing called a floating platform, where it's got Octo Balloon holding up a platform with, like, moblins on top of it, and that'll just be around, or bokoblins, and that'll just appear in certain areas they didn't appear before.
That's cool. Also,
there's just enemies that weren't in certain places before. Like, on the Great Plateau is a golden Lionel.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Because why the fuck not? Like, you're not supposed to fight it, you're supposed to sneak past it. And that's one of the coolest things, is that people have beaten that thing before leaving the Great Plateau just by using the resources available there. So, that's insane.
That seems pretty difficult.
Here's the part that ruins it, though. There's also a mechanic associated with the enemies where if you are not attacking them and you leave them too long, they'll just start regenerating health. And they'll do it really quickly.
Oh, good.
And that just makes it so that fighting things that are slightly above your level is impossible. If you need to back off a little bit, they will heal up.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, like, slowly take down a nest. You can't, like, fly over something and drop some bombs and run away and then come back and finish him off or anything like that. Like, there's no point in... You know how sometimes they'll have, like, a lamp in one of those skull fortresses that you can shoot down and it'll explode the barrels and kill or mostly kill everything in it? There's no point in doing that because they'll just heal up, like, right away. So... all you did was waste an arrow.
That's kind of stupid on every level.
It's really frustrating.
I would just not do that. I would just not play that mode. That doesn't sound fun to me.
If it weren't for that one thing, it'd be perfect.
Sure, yeah.
Like, all they did was make it harder in a very understandable way, and then they ruined it by doing
the platform thing, I think that'd be cool to just add.
Yeah.
In the regular game.
Hey, there's these guys, like, this path you normally take, they're there, they're really a huge pain to deal with, you're gonna have to go a different way now.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. The Golden Lionel is in the middle of the fucking field going to the old man's hut. you have to like fucking like go
That's
way out of your way to avoid his range, or if he catches you, you gotta fucking run like hell and get inside a building or something where he can't see you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. But like I just can't take down this Bokoblin fortress because they're in there, they're too hard. I can't fight off multiple ones at once. I can't do enough damage. My weapons will break before I can.
But we're probably going to be talking about this next week as well.
Yeah. I mean, we got to start wrapping up this episode.
Yeah, right now. So, that was episode 10, I think. Probably. We have a Twitter. It's called @OurWaffle, the time, not the regular noun.
It's fine when you're writing it. It's only when we're actually talking about it, which is a shame because this is a podcast and it's all about listening.
Yeah, I know. We have an email, the Waffle Hour Podcast @gmail.com. Feel free to contact me and tell me a little bitch.
Assuming you're not watching this on YouTube, we have a YouTube channel.
We have a YouTube channel. It's called the Waffle Hour Podcast on YouTube.com. And we have a bunch of other streaming services that we're on, like Deezer and iHeartRadio and stuff like that. You can listen to podcasts.
I personally listen to our own podcast on Spotify because I listen to every episode to make sure I didn't say something really fucking stupid that I'm gonna regret. I'm gonna make you like pull the episode over.
Oh my god! Before we do the music thing, I have to actually correct something I said. So last week or the week before, I said there was a quote by Charles Darwin that a woman came up to him and said that was not accurate. I got that from an anecdote on QI, which is quite interesting. Stephen Fries said it.
Okay.
It turns out it's not actually entirely true. It wasn't Charles Darwin. It was another scientist whose name I don't remember. The quote was essentially the same. It's just, like, not him. It wasn't Charles Darwin.
You weren't sure if it was Charles Darwin in the first place.
No, I thought it was either Charles Darwin or
Carl Sagan.
Carl Sagan, because those are the two that make the most sense for that. But it wasn't either of them. It was a totally different person. The anecdote was totally different. It was just like something that someone changed the names of in order to make it more fun and interesting.
But it was a woman approaching a scientist and saying it's turtles all the way down.
Turtles all the way down. Yes, that was the thing I wanted to make sure I corrected because I got that wrong. And I know I did at the end of the episode. My bad. But that's the reality.
I thought that was a really good episode, too.
Yeah, I like that one.
I'm not so much the last one, the one where we recorded on Spotify. Not on Spotify, on Discord. I want to do the Discord thing again, but...
I haven't uploaded that one.
Nope. I know in my head I'm not going to like it.
Okay.
I'm going to re-listen to it, and I've been wrong before. I'm like, oh, this actually turned out really well. Like, we only talked about, like, 2 major subjects, but we always wind up tangenting on, like, a bunch of different shit, and that usually ends up being more interesting anyway.
I'm not going to like it because I was tired as shit the whole time, and I feel really bad.
That's it.
I know I'm going to be upset at myself for that, and I apologize in advance.
And I just felt like I wasn't doing the Dark Crystal enough justice because it's a good show.
It is now time to say goodbye, and then let the music go. So goodbye.
Goodbye.
Now the music will go. We're going to probably have to